I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
Un cero dire. No.
Is he doing it? What the hell?
I don't know. I really don't even know what that meant. Do you? But let's get this thing started, Lanny. I'm so excited. We've got a really interesting podcast today.
It is. I'm still trying to figure out what Max said, though.
It was either in Spanish or French.
Oh, we still on the charts? Oh, we're in the charts on the Spanish.
French charts.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what those guys are. What about our podcast interests them? But and looking around, we've got John Tatum with us today.
The John Tatum.
Yeah.
The self-proclaimed Brim master.
He's from Etowah County.
He's a panfish. He's into panfish.
Yeah, Etowah County.
Etowah
County.
Etowah County.
He's country's corner. He probably ate a Brim sandwich for lunch.
Hey, he likes a panfish sandwich. What's the best part of it? The tail.
The whole thing.
The tail, man.
Tail is pretty good.
Well, we sometimes call John Juan.
Yeah.
So if that, I don't want our audience to get confused if we say
when we
something
say
like,
Juan, we're talking about John.
Yeah. If we say hit it Juan, they'll know what we're talking about. So Dudley's on vacation.
John is sitting in. Are we going to ask John instead of ask Dudley?
We're going to ask you.
Me?
Yep.
About what?
Well, you'll see. And
Okay.
then Toxie's missing in action, but I think he's on a tractor.
He's planting
somewhere.
corn. I can tell you where he is.
Yeah.
So
this is going to be a good one. You know, all my life, brim fishing is something that
I spent a lot of time chasing down crickets in the yard and drowning them in the ponds around my house. You know, I think how most people are introduced to the outdoors.
Yeah.
You know? John was just
100%.
showing me his video of his 3-year-old catching his first one. You know, and it was absolutely precious for one thing, but really cool. My kids all started out the same way. So I mean, I would say I don't know in the South. You know, your introduction to the outdoor is your introduction to the outdoors is probably through brim fishing.
it's a gateway drug.
There you go. Is
Yeah,
it BRIM or BREAM?
EAM.
Brim.
Brim. Look, when I was little,
Not Brim. Brim.
talk about
Yeah.
like what you remember. I can remember being really small and sitting in a john boat with my dad sculling around. And he had a fly rod, and he caught a great big old. It was purple, black, big old bull bluegill at Lake Jordan, which is near Montgomery. And when he pulled it up out of the water, it was peeing. It was big old thick one.
That's
and I
what my
can still
dad did with
remember that to
that.
this day.
My dad would get them and squeeze them.
Yeah.
And
My
then
kids
make them
hate
pee all
that.
over you.
Yeah, I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Oh, I'm glad your dad peed on you with fish pee too, like mine did. We got more bonds than we ever knew, Bobby.
Yeah.
What about you, John? You ever been
John.
peed on by a brim?
I have.
Juan, you have.
My kids hate it as well.
Yeah, so
that's the
you were
first thing
trying
I
to
do.
figure-
When they got their back turned, I bend him. Oh, Daddy, stop.
Yeah.
Fish pee.
Yeah, that's so much fun. So today we got two guests. We have
Yes.
Don Keller, who's a longtime friend of mine, and
Yes.
we'll introduce him later when we get on. He and Barry Smith founded American Sportfish Hatchery. It's been around a long
Great
time.
partners of ours, no doubt about it.
And some young guys are taking that over and doing wonderful things with it. And then we've got a young lady named Sarah Parvin, and she is growing some of the biggest brim I've ever seen.
Where?
Well, in North Alabama, she and her father have just made it a mission to try to grow the state record, which by the way,
is the
would
state
be
record?
the world record. And I wanted to ask, do either of you guys know what the world record bluegill weighs? How much
I'm
it weighs?
sure Juan does.
4.12 pounds.
You're close. It's
4.38.
It's actually
1 ounce.
4 pounds,
12
12 ounces.
That's right.
He must have looked under the thing.
probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That Juan slipped now.
that's a huge brim.
Hey, one question. North Alabama?
Yes.
That's where she's raised them?
Yeah.
So,
Close to Huntsville, I think.
We-
We can ask her. We can get GPS coordinates from
yeah,
her.
do we get to go fish?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Boy, it'd be nice to catch one of them things that big.
Yeah.
Just one.
It'd pee on you for a long time.
Full of it.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go there, Jason McKellar is here. You know, we got this countdown to our 100th episode, and we got a great prize today. Jason, would you tell us what's going on there, please?
Can you hear me?
We can.
We can.
All right. Okay, so 97th episode of the giveaway.
This is episode 97.
Episode 97.
On the way to 100.
Yep. So 100th episode giveaway. Just go online and complete the form on Mossy Oak GameKeeper.com/podcast giveaway. Each episode we got a question. Well, we have a trivia and they answer it, and you take that answer and enter it in the form. So this week we have sunglasses from Leopold.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
They're good.
They're really good. I'm telling you, I'll fall in love with mine.
They're great. I mean, you stole the ones that
Stole?
Well,
That's a harsh
they
word.
They were gone, and then all of a sudden they were on your hat. So.
Are they not on there now?
They're fantastic glasses.
They're-
That's
no-
a
no
great
doubt
prize.
about
So my understanding is whoever wins then just lets us know, goes to the Leopold website, picks out what pair they want, and lets us know, and then we'll have Leopold send those glasses to them.
Good deal. They'll love them.
So you're going to ask a question and try to stump us.
Okay, yeah. So I had a fish question. I thought it was going to be good, but
All
now
right, Juan, get ready.
I kind of dug into it, and I'm no expert by no means, and there's a little gray area to it. So I might crash and burn, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So the question is, how many species of black bass are in North America?
What? Why?
Oh, I
Y'all
know-
couldn't
I
get
know-
an
I
easier
think I know
question.
this.
You over there using
No,
Google.
no.
But there's a little controversy on some of them.
What is a black bass?
Oh, hold up.
Well,
be asking that
answer.
question.
Speak up there.
I'm thinking.
I know. I think I know. I think it's 7.
You writing the questions.
No, I'm not right.
Okay, whatever.
4.
8. 12.
It might be 6.
3.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
9.
9.
None?
9.
No, but just to clarify, there are 4 other ones that there's been a paper written on, so there's a little
Mean mouth.
there's a little disagreement. Some people say 13, but generally speaking, 9 is going to be.
Well, help me here. What is a black bass?
Well, largemouth bass. Is
So a
black
bass.
So then you would
So
have
is a small
Spotted
mouth?
bass?
Is a small mouth?
which is in
Mean
Florida.
mouth.
No, that mean mouth is not what we're talking about. There's
It's one of them. I promise you.
there's a Guadalupe bass in Texas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
There's
So is there a white bass?
Small mouth. There's a white bass. Yeah.
Is it part of the black bass family?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so. No.
You got the list?
There's a red-eye shoal bass.
Yep.
Largemouth. There's a spotted bass that's in the rivers around here.
Yep.
There's the northern black bass.
There's
There's
a Florida strain.
bass.
I don't see a. So let me just go through them.
Yeah, please do.
Florida bass,
Yep.
Guadalupe bass,
Yep.
smallmouth bass, Alabama bass,
Huh.
shoal bass, red eye bass, spotted bass, Swanee bass, and largemouth bass.
That adds up to 9.
Which one are we missing? One?
Mean mouth.
Mean mouth.
Yeah. So hey, so a guy puts
Is that
in
like
9.
a warmouth?
Is that what
Yeah.
they do?
So the answer is 9. So just go online, MossyOakGameKeeper.com. Click on podcast giveaway and enter number 9, and you'll see a little section that says episode 97 Leopold glasses. Click on that, enter number 9.
And you can win a prize.
You can win a prize.
Get
And-
registered to win. And the grand prize
Exactly.
of the gun.
The
Yeah.
Browning.
So out of Toxie's closet.
Yeah.
Better in Bottomland. Browning A5. I love it.
Toxie shotgun out of his safe, not out of his closet.
Oh, that's
so.
right.
But it's a beautiful gun. And there's going to be several more prizes. This is going to be a lot of fun. So they just put in 9, and that's their chance to win.
So obviously Juan has not been listening to the contest roll because he just said, well, why did we give him the answer? Well, I mean, have you ever seen A Christmas Story?
Yeah.
Okay. You know the drink more Ovaltine scene? Okay. So you have it right there. So we're helping people get the answers. They're registering to win prizes. 100th episode, we're going to give all this stuff away.
Jason, thank you. That was a good question. I
Yeah.
sure thought it was 8 rather than 9. But I guess I was probably the closest, though.
Of course you are. When you write the answers and the questions, you're going to be closer.
I did not write that. Jason.
Jason, did
All
he
right,
know the
so
answer?
we're waiting on Sarah to get online for some. Richie, are you dealing with that? Okay. So Mac, you want to while we got this break in action, you want to go ahead and do a commercial?
Absolutely. So since we're talking about fishing, I felt like there was no better thing to talk about than our Biologics Perfect Pond. I mean, the pond fertilizer, you can find it at your Tractor Supplies on plantbiologic.com. And, I mean, all the lakes that we fish in around here, I mean, use it, and it's just a drastic difference. It makes such a good difference in the lake.
Yeah, jump on Google perfect pond fertilizer, and you can't
biological
miss it.
perfect pond.
Or you just perfect pond.
So in the guest that we're going to have a little bit later on, Don Keller helped
Develop it.
He helped. That's right.
That's
He's
right.
a scientist, and it is a fantastic
I
product.
bet he could have answered the trivia question.
Oh yeah. Well, it wouldn't have been fair. But so you're right. So the perfect pond. This time of year, guys, fertilizing your pond is an important thing. And if you've never done it, it really ups that carrying capacity. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, I'm sure. But there's a lot of different places. But you might try driving by a Tractor Supply store. They carry those 5-pound bags, and go to our website on
Plant
the 25s.
Biologics or Amazon. Pick it up on Amazon too.
And it's so easy to use. The water how it's water soluble. I mean, you can literally just, get on the bank and throw it out, or get in your John boat.
And it'll permeate to the other side. You don't have to. It's just the way it's designed, and it's over my head, but it'll permeate all the way across the lake. It's really, really fascinating stuff. What else? Is that it, Mac?
That's it.
Okay.
That's a great one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good stuff.
So while we're waiting on Sarah to get on here, John, what's going on in the world of Mossy Oak fishing? And let me tell a little bit about you, just real quick. You work downtown in the Mossy Oak licensing department.
How long you been here, John?
July will be 12 years.
12 years in the ditches with us.
And you're a big fisherman. That's probably
Love
what
it.
you enjoy
I don't get
the
to do
most.
it like I used to, but
Well, you started this real job instead of that other one.
no, we took on a house project, building a house.
Oh, there it is.
And,
you
it's
get to
taken
fish
all
again in
my
a couple
time.
years.
Yeah.
It's priorities.
So you're down there where all the serious stuff goes on. So you're better off to tell us what's going on in the world of Mossy Oak fishing than anybody.
Yeah, Mossy Oak fishing has grown leaps and bounds since it started. Mossy Oak Elements Agua remains the most widely distributed and marketing fishing pattern across the retail industry and on all major tournament trails.
Mossy Oak Elements.
Yeah.
Nice.
Organized tournament trail standpoint from the youth to the professional levels. Mossy Oak fishing is the leader in tournament fishing trails. We are the premier brand of patterns, and the result, if you can find us on the best performing brands like Hook, Columbia, AFCO, Pure Fishing, and Pure Fishing involves Abu Garcia, Shakespeare, Ugly Stick, Plano, and basically all major retailers.
Man, that's some top.
Have you
brands.
seen that Bottomland ugly stick?
I have.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it
I
really
love
is.
it, Bottomland, of course, but it's a really good looking thing.
Yeah.
And you
Of
can't
course.
break them.
That's right. And they're in Bottomland. Come on.
And the Ugly Stick is a fantastic rod.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are great brands. What else?
We are the exclusive and official camo of Major League Fishing,
How about that?
whom Kevin Van Dam is fishing right now for Major League Fishing on Watts Bar in Tennessee in the championship day.
KVD.
I think that guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, I wish we could get him as a guest.
We've talked. He's coming. He's going to be on the podcast.
I would love to talk to him.
I have
Gamekeeper.
confirmation. Hey, and he's a huge gamekeeper. I think that's what he likes to do more than anything.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, John, what else you got?
Oh, we got an ICAST coming up here in a couple weeks, and
You gonna be there?
I'm not, but everybody
Fishing
else
Oak.
will be.
Yeah.
Mossy Oak
I'll
Fishing.
sure have a big
If you're
booth.
there, stop by and see us.
Yeah.
There you go. Have you tried the Mossy Oak fishing shorts?
Oh, they're those Hydroplex
Oh
technology.
my goodness!
Yeah.
Best shorts on the planet.
They really are the best shorts. I wear them all the time.
So I like the
workout
Unfortunately, I don't
shorts.
fish all the time either, but I do wear those shorts all the time because they're that comfortable.
So, Lanny, I'm glad you mentioned that. We got a trivia question later on, and then the prize for that is going to be a Mossy Oak fishing shirt, those shorts, and the Hydroplex, the really comfortable ones you're talking
I
about.
want to
and
get
a
in on
hat.
this one. Yeah. I tell you, it's a great product. So, all the team down there has done a really good job developing that stuff. So,
Yeah, they have.
Kudos.
Yeah, they have. The Mossy Oak fishing stuff is beautiful. There's a
is.
shirt that's kind of red, white, and blue. Can't remember the name of that pattern, but I saw it today.
Well, we got coastal, and then we go to the wake form and all that good stuff.
It's
I
just-
can't keep up with it
it's
anymore.
incredible.
Several different colorways in each of those, agua and
So, guys, I would highly encourage you to, if you like on Instagram, like
Mm-hmm.
Lanny is and Mac is to go to follow Mossy Oak
Instagram.
Fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you would enjoy it because there's some good stuff that's on there. So,
Are you not on Instagram anymore, Bobby?
I'm on and off. I take breaks.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy.
Yeah. Do a little
Yeah. Thank you,
Instagram
Richie.
fasting.
Hey, this is Toxie Hayes with Mossy Oak. You know, hunting and fishing, game keeping, and taking care of the land with my family is my life. And I'll be honest with you, the one app that I'm on every day and use more than anything is OnX. It literally has changed my life. From property ownership to roads, everything to do with understanding the land better. I even use it to plot acreages all the time. Every function I could dream of. Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% on your next OnX subscription. Trust me, you'll be so glad you did.
Look, guys, well, I'm real excited. We've got two guests. We've got Don Keller, who I mentioned earlier, who founded American Sportfish Hatchery and helped. There you go, and helped develop the Perfect Pond Plus fertilizer.
Yes.
And then we've got a young lady, Miss Sarah Parvin.
She's on a mission.
She is on a mission to.
Yeah.
She and her father, which is very endearing to hear
no
the
question
story
about
of
it.
Her father, and they're trying to grow a state record, which would also be the world record. So.
So is that just the Alabama record is that big?
Yeah, well, it was cut. Yes, the Alabama record is the state record.
Oh, okay. Or
The Alabama record is the world record.
So is there any brim anywhere else?
Yeah, they're all over.
Okay.
And there's a lake in Arizona that's. So let's introduce
Sorry,
Sarah
sorry,
first. Sarah, thank you for being here. So you got the horn, Sarah. So look, guys. This is going to be really interesting. I've got a lot of questions, but I want to throw out the first one. Sarah, we're fascinated by these big fish that you and your father are growing, and the Don is on here to help us with the science and understand. Ultimately, Lanny, at the end of this podcast, I want our listeners and myself to know how they can grow some bigger brim in their pond.
Yeah.
And then how to catch these great big old brim, because they're a different
Different breed.
Yeah. So that's what we want to learn from Sarah, and Don's going to help us there. But Sarah, could you kind of tell your story about how this all started?
Yeah, how it all came about.
Yeah, so I have fished pretty much my entire life. My whole family fishes. I grew up in South Alabama in Montgomery. That's where I'm from. And so my aunt worked for Ray Scott for, 40 years. So we grew up, I just figured everybody fished. We're in the South, you hunt or you fish. That's what you do. And so my dad is a retired radiation oncologist. And once he got his practice up here in Huntsville established, he decided to dig a pond. And it was a trophy bass pond up until 4 years ago. So we dug this pond about 27 years ago, I believe. We had a couple of fish kills throughout that time, but the last one, which was 4 years ago today, was a total loss. We lost everything. We lost trophy bass. So we said we had to start over. So we decided to restock. We stocked with tiger bass and Copper Nose Blue Gill from American Sportfish down in Auburn. And fast forward about 18 months, 2 years in, I started catching the bluegill. And I caught one and I thought, well, this fish has a different look to it. It's a heavy fish. It's not a pan fish, so to speak. It was just a heavy fish. Then I started catching them regularly. And I went to my dad and I said, we really have something here. This is unique because not only are these copper nose large in a short amount of time, we have lots of them. We have lots of really big copper nose. So at that time, we decided to halt the bass program and really sort of press the gas on growing Copper Nose Blue Gill. And it has absolutely exploded over the last year and a half with interest and people commenting about it. And it has been quite the adventure.
So, Don, is the Copper Nose Blue Gill, now, where are they from?
Well, I'll tell you a little short story here. The Copper Nose Blue Gill, I started dealing with these things back in the 80s. I'd done some literature research, and the Copper Nose, the home range, is about the same range as the Florida bass. At that time, it was from Tallahassee on south to Peninsula, Florida. And I'd read a little bit. It wasn't much in the literature, but it grew a little faster. So I contacted a biologist I knew with the game and fish, and he said, "Oh, it's the same thing you got up there." And I said, "No, I don't think so." So I went to Auburn and talked with Dr. Ramsey. He was a major professor of mine, and he was an ichthyologist. He said, "No, it's a subspecies. It's Lepomus macrochimus purpurescens. And they'd done some, had a graduate student that had did some genetic work that was for DNA, where you did a electrophoresis, which separates amino acids. It was, and they confirmed it was. So I talked with people in Georgia, the game and fish over there, and they had some interest, and they'd actually sent some people down into Florida, south of Tallahassee, around the land, and picked up a few copper nose and brought them. They had a farmer that had an isolated pond. They brought them back and put them in that pond, and they were going to, try to observe them. And I talked to one of them. That I talked to was Mike Newman. He used to work for me as a summer intern when I was a biologist up out of East Alabama. So I connected with Mike, and I took a truck and a seine, and I went over there, and I seined up about 50 of them, brought them back to Enterprise and spawned them. Then a couple of years later, Barry and I was running a small hatchery then, and Barry and I cranked up American Sportfish in '85. So we started distributing them. At that time, there were no copper nose in Mississippi, Louisiana, or Texas, or Georgia, or Tennessee. So then there were a few other fish farms started popping up, and they got those from us. So actually, all the copper nose that are distributed across the South came off that little nucleus of me going over there and meeting Mike. But the Texas Parks and Wildlife had done some work on them, where they had brought some in from Florida, and they did a controlled study where they put copper nose in with native bluegill, and the copper nose, they didn't look at them long enough to say that they were getting maximum size would be larger, but the first 2 years of growth exceeded the native bluegill, and they responded better to feed. They would come up to feed better than the others would. And one thing I noticed when I seine those things first time, those things would jump the seine. I'd never seen a bluegill do that. It's kind of like grass carp jumping over. I was pulling it, and these things started leaping over. But anyway, we got them, brought them back. So I guess I was a Johnny Appleseed of copper nose.
Yeah, wow. So, hey, Juan, have you got a question for Sarah?
So we go to Pickwick every year, and we go on a trip every year, and we catch the kids go and another family, and it's a brim trip. That's what we do. Why don't you catch them bigger there than you do like in your pond, I guess?
You mean like, why are they so much smaller in the wild?
They are. Why is that?
Yeah. So that's like, there's some moving parts to that question. From our experience, number one, we pellet feed these bluegill, and they will eat. It's like nothing you've ever seen. We turn a feeder on, and it looks like somebody is just shooting, automatic rounds into the water. It's absolutely insane. So one, they never have to fight for forage. We provide that for them. But also, I believe, because they have mostly been viewed as a food source. You've got over-harvesting, not enough catch and release on trophy size bluegill, so that limits the potential for those genetics to stay in that water for them to continue to grow and, reproduce and spawn and do all that to produce those bigger fish. That's what I think it is.
All those coolers that rode back in the truck with you from the lake. That's what she's saying is a few of those probably should have stayed in there. The larger ones.
Well, I mean, we throw the little ones back. We got to keep the big ones.
Lanny, have you got a question?
Yeah. Speaking of big ones, where are we shooting for with this? How big of a copper nose are we trying to grow? And
4.14 pounds.
So where are we? Right? So we're trying to go 4.14 pounds.
Yes.
And where are we right now?
We're about 3.5 pounds.
3.5 pounds. So how long do you estimate? Will that happen this summer? Do you hope it happen in the next year? Or we just don't know? You're just going to stick the feed to them and see what happens?
I'm just going to keep feeding them and hope that when the good Lord is ready that I catch that world record out of that lake.
Can you catch it with a seine, or does it have to be on a hook?
Got to be hook and line.
Gotcha.
I mean, how often do you try to catch them? Do you fish all the time?
Every day.
Really?
You think he's in there already? Or is it a him or a her?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but I'm thinking it's going to be a her, and I think she's in there.
She thinks she's in there. Well, let's go fishing.
Wow.
I mean, what's up?
No, I ain't taking her thunder.
Look, she's got, guys, y'all need to follow her on Instagram.
Yeah, you do.
Sarah Parvin, and it's also the closer. I'm not sure what all that's about.
The closer.
But
she's the closer.
I think she's a
like
salesperson. Is that for your sales job or for your ability?
That's correct. I have a background in sales and marketing, so they call me the closer because I get the deal done.
Okay.
Wow. You
right.
need to spend some time in his office.
Yeah, we got some guys that need to learn how to close.
Mac, you need a tutor.
So, but she's got an Instagram page, and when you see these fish, it's incredible.
There's some big brim.
They're
I mean, they're huge.
I'm impressed with how thick they are.
Yeah, they are thick.
Yes.
So let me ask Don. Don, tell us about what's making these fish grow. I mean, obviously she's feeding them, but are these fish? How much bigger can they get?
They may have something unique going on there because there's a lot of people that stock Copper Nose Blue Gill and feed and don't get them that size. Sometimes you'll have sort of an anomaly. There may be some food source in there that they're getting a lot of. And back to the other question about, getting bluegill big, those things get big in proportion to the food availability. We used to have some ponds where people wanted big bluegill. We would intentionally crowd the bass, stunt the bass so there'd be about 10 to 12 inches, and it reduced the total number of bluegill, but the bluegill that remained had adequate food. It's just like thinning a deer herd. If you want big deer, you gotta thin them out.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that's a little bit different, the world record came out of Lake Katona out of Tarrant, and that was an infertile system, and it's got a spring in the bottom, cool water spring, and 5 Mile Creek flows through. That thing's about 500 feet deep. But those fish, Sarah and them are making tremendous progress. The only thing I'd be a little concerned about is when you get warm temperatures like you have, Sarah, and very rapid growth, your metabolism gets so fast in those fish, and it's like humans getting big and fat, and, getting burnt out. My point is the life expectancy may not be as long to get a fish up to, the world's record is 4.25. And what's unusual that I didn't really realize is the previous world record came out of that same body of water. It was a 410, and the guy put it in the freezer overnight. And, it could have weighed 412, but that's a deep, clear, cool body of water, and it was actually a limestone quarry, so it's extremely hard water. A lot of it's calcium is what they were getting out of there. I don't know what you might get with Sean and see what your alkaline and total hardness is. And we used to say if it was 20 or less, it would line it, but it may pay on the world record. The higher the calcium content, that relates to the hard structure in fish, the bones and stuff. And I probably want a high total hardness, high alkalinity in there. And the other thing is, I'm not suggesting you do this, but a thought that I had on this is that one thing about those fish you got those big females. The picture I saw looked like it was a big female you were holding, and those things are going to try to spawn when the water temperature reaches about 75, 78 degrees. They're going to try to spawn every month. Which in your area, in Huntsville area, it'd be May, June, July, August, September. Well, they're expending some energy to when they ovulate and release that. If they weren't spawning, they may attain more weight. Now, the only way you could do that feasibly, and I'm not suggesting this, is we used to occasionally would put some fish in cages. It'd be like wire cages with PVC around the top so it would float. But if you isolated, say, 5 fish in a cage so it couldn't spawn, maybe 5 males in this cage, 5 in that cage, and don't tell Sean I said this because you may want him to build a cage. But anyway, if you had them in there, they can't reproduce. We used to put bluegill in cages and hold them and feed them so they wouldn't spawn at all. And then we'd take them out and we would move them to a pond, and bam, they'd all spawn at one side. Then the offspring would be uniform because they'd have the same birth date. So if you had a situation where we're strictly trying to grow one, of course, for IGFA world record, if you had it in a cage in a pond, I don't know if that would count. So you probably better stay the course. But I think if some way you could get them somewhere where where you only had those big fish in a pond, all females and all males in there, then you make it push it up a little bit. I mean, it's rare, as you know, to see a fish a bluegill 3 pounds. You get one over that, it's just get extremely rare.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing something right, so don't change much.
So, Sarah, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your lake and the size, the depth, the structure, anything about it that might be lending itself to making it so productive?
Well, and that's what we're actually working with American Sportfish right now, is trying to figure out why. How have we done it? Because it's not just the feeding. Obviously, we feed very heavy, which I don't recommend to just anybody, because that has consequences. When you feed as heavy as we feed, you can mess your water up really quickly, and it can be a recipe for disaster. But our lake is about 5 acres. It is not very deep. At the deepest, it's about 9 feet deep. But we do have a lot of habitat. We have a lot of fish habitat in there and a lot of structure for them. And we're hoping, we just electroshocked last week, and we pulled out a bunch of fish that left with Sean and American Sportfish to go to Auburn and do some genetic testing and to sort of figure out like what's really going on here, because it is a one-off. You just don't see that many big bluegill in the type of lake that we have. So there is something unique here, and we're trying to figure that out right now in real time.
So everybody knows how hard brim fight. Okay?
Oh yeah,
you hook a good
it's like
adult,
to turn sideways.
Yeah, best time in the world.
So are these like just stretching your rod? And I mean, they got to be fun to catch.
Let me tell you, I've got lots of friends that are pro anglers, and of course we've got Lake Gunnersville here. So sometimes the pros will come in to fish, and they always want to sneak over to the Slab Lab and use a little spinning rod and just have the time of their life. The fight on these fish is unreal. I had a pro angler fish with me a couple of weeks ago, and he was completely taken aback. He was like, "This is insane. Like the rod is completely bent," and he was using a medium power rod. And he said, I can't get over this. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it is absolutely addicting, and it is incredible. And it's great for fishermen of all different levels. First time to seasoned vets that are out there on the water. Every single angler absolutely enjoys this.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Lanny, it is called her lake. It's called the Slab Lab. And I think she calls herself the Slab Queen. But,
all right,
Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about your father and his involvement in all this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is the head mad scientist of the Slab Lab. It is him that sort of created this environment, because he does nothing in moderation. So he's either all in or all out with whatever he chooses to do in life. And when we realized the potential that we had here, and we halted the bass program, and like Don said, our pond does have tiger bass, but we are bass crowded. So he decided to really pursue these copper nose and see what he could do. He just absolutely like pushes the envelope. We manage this pond on the bleeding edge. I mean, it's really, really interesting to see where we have gotten with it. And he has a science background. Obviously, he's a retired doctor. So his brain works differently than mine. I like to say he grows them and I catch them. And that's the working relationship that we have out there. So he's very scientific about it. He knows exactly where everything is supposed to be. We run 2 very large paddle wheels that we cut on that help create current, and they also help put oxygen in the water during the time of the year right now where we have a hard time with that. That is a struggle that our pond faces because of all the biomass and the algae. Like we have algae, we have blooms. Like that's what caused our kill 4 years ago. So he's got it all down to a science. He is not a pond management person. He has that scientific background, and he thinks he knows it all, like most pond owners. So
yeah, well, he sounds like an interesting guy. His name is Dr. Dennis Olive, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So obviously he's done something right. He's raised you to love fishing. That's right out of the gate. That's
right.
Good. So hang on, Sarah. Mac, are you texting? Would you play? You got a question?
I do. I have a few questions. One of my questions would be, do you tag any of the fish that you catch to see if you're catching the same fish?
We don't. We do not tag. This time we don't. We did previously, 4 years ago, we were tagging our bass, but we were a trophy bass pond at that point in time. We're not tagging right now.
And then another question I have is, what bait do you use when you're going after the big fish?
That was my question.
Yeah,
man.
how do you catch them?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Are y'all sure y'all are ready for this?
Oh yeah.
I use a 3.3-inch Kitech swim bait.
You're kidding.
Mm-mm.
You're kidding.
No,
That's a big
Apparently
bait.
not.
It's a swim bait. It's a
it's a
minnow.
swim bait.
Well, so you're trying to not catch any small ones. You're trying to just to go after those big fish.
Yeah, and it's like I tell people when I bring them out there to fish, I can put you on numbers, or we can go for that larger, bigger, like personal best bluegill. So, you tell me if I want to go for numbers, I have no issue putting a cricket on a long shank eagle claw hook, size 1 hook, and a bobber, and I will have the time of my life. You want to catch the big ones, we size up. And we have also caught them on a 2-inch curly tail minnow, which they absolutely hammer. I catch fish on that year round, 12 months a year at the Slab Lab. That produces a bite for me. But the 3.3-inch Kitech is something that
They chase it down.
I have recently discovered, and they eat it every time I throw it.
Well, Mac, you got a follow-up question?
I do. I have one more question. As far as tackle for this world record, will you try to use different forms like a fly rod or a spinning rod or different tackle to get multiple world records, or are you just specific on one?
Right now, I've not really made a big decision on that. Number one, I don't know how to fly fish. I am getting ready to learn how to do that, but for the most part, I use a spinning rod setup for it.
Oh, yeah. That would be so much fun on a spinning rod. But I would
Yeah.
only imagine what one of those things if they blew up on a popping bug. So, hey, Don, I got a question for you. So
Okay.
when you think about these fish, when they get this size, 3 pounds plus, would they be more like a heavy, overweight person, or would they be more like a super athlete?
I mean, I don't know how to answer it. Those fish are growing very fast. You just look at the condition factor on them, so it's kind of a combination of both. It's probably like a heavy athlete, more like a offensive guard than a wide receiver. So I was going to ask Sarah, y'all, what percent protein are y'all feeding? Aquamax? Or are you feeding?
We were feeding Aquamax MVP 500, I believe, the first year and a half, and then we switched over to a proprietary blend from Optimal Feed. And I think it's 42% protein.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to get that protein up above 40%, like a trout chow or bass chow or something.
I tell you what, when I think about over 3 pound
giant.
bluegill, it's just incredible. Lanny, what are you thinking?
I'm trying to figure out how to grow one.
You know,
how old are these fish when they get that big?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, they can't be any older than 4 years.
Oh,
How about
she's
that?
right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's really incredible growth for that period of time. Your key is going to be if you can get them to live. Normally, the longevity on a bluegill is going to be about 5 years. And I think that those in Lake Katona and some of these others, where that cooler water temperature didn't get out of the 70s and it was real deep, those things were they may have been anywhere from 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. They had a slow but continuous growth. And the other thing about those quarry lakes is like fishing out of a phosphate pit for bass. Those things, they take an excavator and dig it out. So there's very little spawning areas for them. And so you end up with a low density of fish, but you have a good bit of food. So there's not much spawning activity in those quarries. But if you can get them to live a long time, then you certainly going to get close to or achieve your goal there. That's going to be the thing. Have you got any? Let me ask you this: have you got any creeks or streams or anything near you there?
So the property backs up to a mountain, and there is a natural water system that comes off the mountain, and it spring feeds into the Slab Lab.
Yeah. You probably get some calcium hardness out there. What I was going to mention is you need to be real careful about otters coming there as predators. I've seen them wipe out lakes and taking out 8-10 pound bass. And I had a pond one time where I had some brood grass carp. They were 15-16 pounds, and otters took those out. And I saw we've had some people that had trophy lakes over in West Alabama. Charlie Duncan, that he's a distributor over there, Bobby knows him, but he had some tremendous lakes, and he had otters came in there, and I mean decimated it. They can eat 7 pounds of fish per otter per day, and they come in a family. You get a family of 6 comes in, and that's going to be about 50 pounds a day, and do the math. That's 350 pounds in a week, and that's almost an acre carrying capacity. So they'll come in the winter, but don't let that happen.
Yes, we are very mindful of that.
Sarah, I was expecting you to tell me the lake was 20 or 25 acres and it had some really deep water.
I was too. I was expecting a deep lake.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So it sounds like the water you have is just unbelievably productive. I'm trying to picture in my mind, did y'all lay out riprap or stump beds and all those things to kind of make it more productive?
Well, we did. We built up berms. I mean, we designed it, 20 plus years ago. I was young, very young, but we designed it back then with the intention of it being a trophy bass lake. And so there were a lot of thought and consideration given into, places where these bass could bed, where things could actually happen. And we have since added to that structure in there. We've put fish habitat in, we've changed things around some, but we have 5 docks off the lake, and each dock has a feeder. And so we run 5 feeders across our 5-acre lake about 5 times a day.
Oh, wow.
Got plenty to eat.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So, look, I'm looking at the guys. We've learned a lot.
It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah.
And I applaud you. I mean, first of all, it seems like the relationship with you and your father is very pivotal to this whole thing, which is really cool. We were just talking before you got on how every one of our introduction to the outdoors was catching brim. That's how, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now if my dad didn't carry me brim fishing back in the day. So what y'all are doing is amazing, and it's commendable, and can't wait for you to catch it. Him, her, whatever it is.
Yeah, it really is. And whenever I see a father-daughter, I really like those stories.
Right. Of course you do.
But
Jessie fishes, doesn't she?
Yeah,
just a little bit.
She does fish. And I just imagine, the enjoyment that he gets watching her.
Sure, I
there.
imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like he's a mad scientist.
So does anybody have any more questions? I feel like there ought to be something else that we asked. We've learned about Copper Nose. I didn't know that.
I think it's going to happen soon. I think she's going to catch it.
You really believe right now one's in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she does. Look at her. She wouldn't lie to you.
On a Kitech. I cannot believe that.
Have you like a coca hole?
I do want to say this. If it was to never happen, if their something happened tomorrow, world record never came out of there, I really don't give a rip.
That's cool.
What we have done in the last 18 months for pond management from a whole different perspective here with these Copper Nose is just the very beginning of the story we're still writing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're completely changing the narrative on pan fishing. I think for so long, and listen, I'm an avid bass angler. I will chase that green fish till the day I die. I've caught 4 double-digit bass in my life. I am completely hooked on them. But here's the thing. Pan fishing has been long looked at as the red-headed stepchild of freshwater fishing. It has. It really has. And I want to change that. And I think I'm finally making headway, and I'm completely happy with where we are today. If we never go any further, I'm good.
Well, good for you. That's awesome.
I think she is making headway.
Yeah, she's focused on the long game. That's what it's all about. So.
Yeah. This has been really good. Well, all right, Sarah, Don, y'all don't leave us now. We've got we've got a trivia question, and so here's how I'm gonna set this up.
Yeah, I should have asked her
Well, we got a good one for her.
Okay,
so
okay.
we're gonna ask Sarah. We're gonna ask you a trivia question, and your lifeline is Don. If you get stumped, you can reach over to Don and he can help. But so we're playing. There's for one of our listeners that left a review, and Mac will tell us about that. But if you get the question right, this listener wins a big prize.
Nobody's ever gotten one wrong, so not much pressure.
Yeah, but I will say this is the toughest question that we've asked.
Oh man!
So
you make her nervous.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm cheering for you now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Mac.
All right, so we're playing for Purdue Hill Pimp.
What?
And if y'all
what a
get this,
username!
Yeah, he left a review.
He did. He left a review, and that's how he got entered to win.
Okay.
And so, if the question is answered correctly, Purdue Hill Pimp will win a Mossy Oak fishing shirt, shorts, and hat out of John Tatum's budget.
All
my
right.
God. Yeah.
Go,
Well,
John.
hey, and this is those fancy shorts we were talking about. They're so comfortable. The Hydroplex. We need to get some to Sarah.
Yeah,
she
you
would
do.
love those.
Oh, these are great fishing shorts.
Yeah. Hydroplex is what they call it, I think. Yeah. It's fantastic. So, all right. So, Purdue Hill Pimp. This is for you now.
All right. So most everyone's heard of a member of the sunfish family called a warmouth. What is another slang term for them?
Come on.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So while you're thinking, there's about 6 or 7 that we would accept, and so you think about that. But guys, we've all heard about.
I've only called them a warmouth.
Well, there's
but
another
I've
name.
called them
There is another name.
my whole
There's a
life.
bunch of other names.
And
I've only ever heard warmouth. I don't know the slang. I mean,
you can phone a friend. You can phone a friend.
okay, Don, ding, 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 find a friend. Help me out here.
Some people call a warmouth a stump knocker.
They do. That's
Is
exactly
that
right.
it? All right.
Well, and Max, read some of the other names.
So we've got red eye, goggle-eye, red-eyed brim, stump knocker, mud gaper, mowmouth, Morgan, molly, rock bass, open mouth, weed bass, wood bass, strawberry perch, and mud bass.
Wait.
It's a goggle-eye.
A goggle-eye.
Goggle-eye.
Yeah, I mean,
And I didn't know a warmouth and a goggle-eye were the same
they're
thing.
the same thing.
Huh.
Yeah, isn't that
Didn't
right,
know
Don?
that.
Yes.
Google-eye.
There's a
These kids
variety
that
of
are brought
those
up in the
things
tech
that
world,
start-
Google-eye.
There's a variety of those things that look similar. That it depends on where you are. They call them.
So
different
what
names.
is a warmouth? I've had that discussion in my life. Is it a bass?
It's a sunfish.
It's a sunfish.
Tell us, Don. You're the biologist.
Yeah, why
Well,
are you answering Don's question?
a warmouth it looks like a green sunfish, but it has 3 bars that radiate back on the opercular flap, and it's more. You'll find it more in
Creeks.
backwaters. Green sunfish, you find them a lot in grassy, shallow waters, but there's a difference between a warmouth and a green sunfish. People call green sunfish around here, they'll say we're at warmouth in my pond, but they're really not warmouth. They're different.
I know they're
Different
really
species.
good flathead bait.
Well, so Sarah, I know you knew that when you just couldn't pull it up.
But she got it right. I mean, she got the phone a friend.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
still 100%. Go,
but
Sarah. The
Purdue
closer
Hill
got it done.
wins.
Purdue Hill Pimp. You think that's chicken pimp? I mean, I don't know. Is it? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, look, Sarah, have you got anything else you want to tell us? Guys can follow you on Instagram, and is there anything else you want to make sure we point out?
Yeah, you can follow me at Sarah the Closer Parvin on Instagram. I'm also Sarah the Closer Parvin on Facebook and on TikTok.
Old tick and talk.
Well, we're going to be cheering for you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and guys, I've been talking with Richie. We're going to look at trying to go over there and film.
Yeah, we got to do some kind of feature about this in the magazine or the
that's
TV
right.
show or something like that.
Yes, that's what we want to do, a TV show.
Y'all need to come catch a big bluegill.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm yeah.
Oh, wait.
We're going.
You're going?
We'll go do. Oh, I'll go do.
Okay,
that.
this sounds good. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Richie's saying no.
So-
Richie's not getting to go. He's got too much to do.
Sarah, thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for what you're doing, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and tell your father we said hello, and we
I
hope he
will.
gets feeling better. I think he's sick. You mentioned he was sick.
He is. Thank you. I'll let him know.
Yeah,
Yep,
please
yep.
do.
Don, are you still there?
Still here.
Yeah, we made you chuckle. That's a hard thing to do.
Twice.
Hey,
Oh,
well,
don't-
one little bit of trivia here I was going to mention to you, Bobby. We talked about we got started back in '85 and '86. About 4 years ago, world record largemouth bass was broken in Japan. Are you familiar with that? Somebody called it 22.5. The original was 22.25 out of Lake Montgomery in Georgia. That was George Perry back in about 1932, and it's hell. Well, I got to thinking about it, and back in the 80s and 90s, nobody was raising Florida bass except us. We were the first ones, and we made 2 shipments to Japan. I got to think that the only other person that had it, the only other person that had any was Ryan Slade, Florida Fish Farms, and I don't think he shipped. Ray Scott got us to ship some to South Africa, and then this was a customer over the Tokyo Bass Club, and they were taking them somewhere, but I kind of forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, this guy called a world record. I thought, I wonder who else sent them over there. So anyway, I called IGFA, their record committee, and they've got a satellite office in Japan. I said, if you would contact them and see if they can find out where those bass came from. I said, I got a pretty good feeling they came off American Sportfish. So it'd be something we supplied the world record bass over
That'd be
there.
amazing.
Again,
Yeah. Well,
And Don, I'm friends with Manuba, the Japanese angler that caught that.
Are you?
I
Are you?
am. Mhm.
I don't know if he was in that bass club or not, but like I said, I made one shipment over there back in about the year before Barry and I got together. I guess that would have been in spring of '85. Then we made another in '86.
Well, Don, we have enjoyed having you. It's good to see you. You're a longtime friend, and we appreciate all you do. The pond fertilizer that you help formulate is just a fantastic product. We love it. Perfect Pond Plus, I'm referred to.
If you come to Montgomery, call me now when you come over.
Yeah, I will. It's always good to see you, Don. I really appreciate it. So thank y'all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sarah.
Appreciate it, Don.
Bye.
See you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Well, guys, look,
Simply amazing.
it really is.
It really is. It's cool stuff. And I was thinking, too, this is going to be a really deep, clear lake. But, she's doing it on 5 acres that, 9 foot of water.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. So the pictures that she shows, it's almost unbelievable when you look at those fish, just how
Spooky looking.
out of proportion they are.
Make 2 sandwiches out of one of them, couldn't you,
Yeah,
John?
you could. So, John, we've enjoyed having you. Is there
Yes.
anything else going on that you want to say hey to one of your youngins up there in Etowah County?
I'm good today. I'll let them.
Oh, you need to give a shout out to your kids.
Well, hello, Hannah, Trace, and Oliver.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Mac, have you got anything else you want to?
I wonder if in Japan they're putting those bass on some sushi.
Would sushi be live bait?
Be
I don't
raw.
know, Mac. I tell you the things that you wonder about. And Mac, did you really say a goggle-eye?
I was on Google and I was reading the sheet.
Goggle-eye.
Oh my
We
goodness.
look at too much of that Google.
I think a warmouth and a goggle-eye is probably one of the most talked about fish there is because they're just kind of weird.
Now, what is a pool perch?
A pool
I
perch
thought
is
that's what I
anything
called a
bait with.
warmouth.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
think
just a sunfish.
a sunfish,
I think, green
yeah.
sunfish. So.
But a warmouth is a little longer, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he's kind of.
He kind of looks. I always thought it was a cross between a brim and a bass.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people
but
think.
I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it?
no, it's not possible. But that's what they kind of look like
Yeah.
for sure.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, look, this has been interesting.
John,
And,
Absolutely.
Juan, thank you for being here, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so, guys, if you'll go to Mossy Oak Gamekeeper, and then podcast giveaway, and put in 9.
The answer is 9. So last week's was 2010, right?
Can I do this?
Yes,
right.
you can.
No, you cannot do that.
You can do it, but you won't win. And this week's answer is 9.
Yep, and we're counting down to
And
we're
I
going
have
to pull
gotten nary one right.
So next week we're going to give away some Russell boots, and then the next week is going to be a Gunner Kennel, a Gamekeeper edition, and then
you're
we're
gonna
going to
be
pull
there.
out Toxie's A5 out of the safe.
Out of the safe. The better in bottomland browning.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Why don't you say goodbye, John?
Everybody have a lovely day.
Get us out of here, Mac.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.